Well, hello there, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaur. My name is Little Wolf, and welcome to my den. Please wipe your paws before entering, and go ahead and take a seat by the fire. I just got done watching a movie that the story is written by one of my favorite authors, and that would be Stephen King. And the movie is 1408, starring John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. Now, with Stephen King, both with his movies and his books, he's really kind of a hit or miss when it comes to all of that. And I would say he's probably a lot better at writing short stories than really long ones, because he seems to have a weird thing of not really being able to end a story well. And with his novels, it's really apparent with that. And then even some of his short stories he'll leave on little cliffhangers so they never really end. And when they take novels that he's made and try and make them into sometimes 2 to 3 hour movies, and you have a novel that's 1,000 pages long, it's hard to take all of that information and compress it into a small bite-sized movie for you to watch. And then they do the same with a mini-series where they try and pad things out. And it's hard to do that with a lot of the stuff that he does. And I can understand why some people dislike his movies, or sometimes even his stories, but I also know there's a huge fan base for him, and I'm definitely in the fan base group. I even love a lot of his lesser liked movies. I loved Maximum Overdrive. I just can't explain why. It's a movie I grew up with on VHS and I would watch it. But 1408, I believe, is a different kind of a beast. And it's a time when they took one of his short stories and turned it into a really good movie. And they've done that with quite a few of his also, like, The Shawshank Redemption was a really great movie. And then you have The Green Mile and Stand By Me. And they're all really good little short stories or novelettes that they turned into a movie. And 1408 falls under the category of going well from the page to the screen, I believe. And a lot of that has to do with the actors that are involved. John Cusack is the main guy, the writer trying to debunk ghost stories and phenomenon in graveyards and hotels and haunted houses and all of that. And then the manager, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and let's just face it, he's Samuel L. Jackson. He's just a fun guy to watch on the screen, whether he's on TV or in movies or wherever. He steals the show. Now, in 1408, we follow the author who is traveling from Los Angeles to New York City to stay in the room 1408, where the manager, Samuel L. Jackson, has decided to not allow people to stay in that hotel room, because throughout his time as being the manager in the hotel, he has seen 5 people pass away. And he's also seen many different things happen to the people who work in the hotel and try and work in the room. and he tries to talk John Cusack out of staying in the room because he knows what it's capable of. And he knows that John Cusack's character is just there to try and debunk it and make money and everything else. And he offers him a chance to stay in a better room, tries to give him really expensive liquor, and finally at the end of it, he pulls out a file that has many, many different photos and stories of the different atrocities that have happened inside that room. Some of the things that people don't hear about in the news or on the radio or wherever they would hear about those kind of things at the time. But John Cusack is very, very adamant about staying in that room and trying to debunk it. And in a weird way, that's kind of why I want to do this type of a movie review or talk about, or whatever you want to call this. Because one of the biggest groups I'm with on YouTube right now is pretty much the debunking community, where we try and debunk the stupid that is out there with the flat earth and anti-maskers and anti-science people, where they don't believe in things like vaccines are deadly and everything like that. And you know, that's another topic for another time. But John Cusack's character, Mike Enslin, would definitely fall into probably a pretty good group with our people, because he goes through and tries to debunk all of the woo, as some of the people here would call it. And he finally gets to go up into the room because his publisher, I believe it is, has contacted a lawyer and said that as long as the room is available, they should rent out the room to whomever would like to stay in it. And there is a case that they found where they could take the hotel to court if not allowed to stay in the room. So the manager finally gives in and says, yes, I'll take you up to the room. And they ride up in the elevator up to the 14th floor. And here's another weird little thing about it, because here in America, we have a weird superstition about the number 13. And usually if a hotel or a big building goes past 13 floors, they'll skip the number 13. And that is a very big superstition for a lot of it. And in other countries, I know they have different ones. Like, I know in one country, the number 7 is a very bad number. And so, buildings that go past 7 stories, they'll leave out the 7th. They'll leave out the 7th floor. And a lot of superstitions like that get passed through time, and we just kind of do them because it's always been done that way. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling about it, but, you know, like I said, this is going to be more of how this movie made me feel versus a review of it. And he finally makes it into the room, but the manager stays at the elevator because he says that's about as close to the room 1408 that he wants to get. I'm sorry, I'm drinking coffee, and I didn't offer any to any of you fine bipeds and quadrupeds. The cauldron's going, the water is hot, there's tea, and there's coffee, and there's hot cocoa. So go ahead and have a drink. And so he finally makes it into the room. And it's almost like any other hotel room where you've gone into, and you stop and you sit and look around. And of course there's the bed, the TV, the bathroom, This one actually has a living room, which is kinda interesting. I've never been in one that has that. But then again, my pay grade has never been that good. And he even mentions it, you know. Do you ever stop and think about how many people have set foot into that room? How many people have slept on that bed that were sick or dying or lonely and sad? Or how many couples have gone into the room and were in love and stayed there for just a night? And if hotel walls could talk, I mean, man, the stories that they could tell of lots of heartache and love, happiness, joy, sorrow. And that's a lot of what this movie kind of brought out in me, because in my head, that's kind of the biggest monster in the story, is that the movie and the room kind of bring out what is really haunting us the most. And I would think those are memories and time. Because a clock in the room sets for 60 minutes and starts to count down. And at one point the manager does say, no one has ever lasted more than an hour in that room. And with memories, they're such a hard thing to run away from and fight. And no matter how much we try and block them out, it doesn't happen. We can stop them for a little while. But when we're alone and by ourselves, they do pop up from time to time. And with time, it's very interesting when you think about those memories and how they made you feel. Because in that moment, a minute can feel like an hour. And then an hour can feel like a minute. And so it's a hard thing to fight memories that haunt us of bad decisions we've made, bad things that have happened to us. And the same happens with Mike in the room. He has had a daughter that has passed away, and I'm not really sure what she passed away from. It's been a while since I listened to the story or read the book, and I did find a copy that I can listen to later on. And you know, maybe when I do a Stephen King book review, I'll talk about that then. But he spends his time in that room, and he sees the ghost of his daughter, and he sees memories of his ex-wife, I believe at the time, or they might still be married and he just ran away. But he sees a video on the TV of a time when him, his wife, and his daughter were all together, and it was one of those happy moments. And sometimes it's funny how the happy moments can kind of haunt you even worse than the good moment, or the bad moments, sorry. Because the happy times, I would say, just kind of show you what you miss about either a past lover or a past parent, a past grandparent. And he watches the video, and it's of his daughter being happy that they just got some fish. And she's kind of giving a little weird contest of like the ugliest people in the room. And the fish take last place. The father takes, I guess at this point, let's see here, there's 2 fish. And there's John Cusack, so he would take, I forget right now, I'm sorry, but that's not really too important. John Cusack takes the next place as the ugliest person in the room. His wife then takes second place, and the daughter takes first place. And it's just one of those weird little happy moments that people try and capture on camera, and to watch later on when their kids are all grown. But sadly, he didn't get a chance to watch his child grow. She passes away. And that's kind of what drives him away. And I think it's what drives him to try and debunk whether things can be haunted or not. Because with ghosts, we always tend to think that they're probably just a figment of our imagination, or some kind of weird scientifical thing like that. And yes, thank you, flippers, I'm definitely using that word. But ghosts are an interesting being, and I might get some flack for this, but I do believe in ghosts, and I do believe in spirits. And I think in part of that is with me being Native American, and part of my family lineage ran through with being shaman. And I do believe in spirits, and I do believe everything has a spirit. And so part of that is what sticks out to me in this movie, because spirits do come and go throughout the movie of people who have passed away in the room. He sees people who have jumped from the window, people who have been hurt in the room and murdered, people who have hung themselves, and many other different ways that people have died. And slowly but surely the room starts to break him, because he sees a point where there are bricks in the windows and in the door, so there's no way to escape. And with our memories, we can definitely feel that way. When you're trapped in that moment and stuck in that memory, it can definitely feel like there is no escape. And you just feel like giving up and trying not to go on anymore. But like Mike in the movie, we do have to try and fight our way out of those memories and out of that swaller and try and get on. I'm sorry if I'm kind of babbling about it, but like I said, that's how this movie made me feel. And it's really a good movie. And I wouldn't really say it's a scary movie, but it's definitely a mind twist. Because there are many times when he tries to leave the room and winds up coming back to it. And in many ways, that's how it is with life. We try and escape our memories and our ghosts of our past. But it can be hard to get away from. But like Red's rhetoric would say, notice the word hard and not impossible. The memories will always be there, and sometimes the feeling is stronger than it was before, and other times it's just a fleeting glimpse. And that's very much how I think about the whole past year with 2020 in general, because we had so much go wrong with the world, and so many places that were locked down and could not escape. And then you have places like where I'm at, where it's not taken very seriously by a mass majority of people. Or not even the majority, it's a small little group, but they're very loud and very vocal about how they feel. And it was a really annoying thing to have to be locked down inside of our houses with a lot of the same people. And sometimes that can drive us crazy. But then I look at the different things that have happened since all of it started. And I've said it before. I found my gaming group, and I love them so much. I found my swordsmen, and they know I love them. And of course, I found you people. You come into my den, you sit down, you listen to me ramble from time to time. And I'm so glad you do decide to stop by and just take a breather from all of the craziness that's going on out there. And just think, maybe at some point in the future, maybe not soon, but this will be a weird memory of a time that happened. Because think of all the other different things that we have made it through. We made it through the weirdness that was 2012. And good Lord, that's almost 10 years ago now. We made it through the weirdness that was Y2K. How many different things that we were told were supposed to end us. And look at where we are. We're still here. We're still kicking. We can make it through this. But we can't do it alone. I couldn't do it without you bipeds and quadrupeds and dinosaurs. You guys have kept me company in the chats, in the video chats, in the voice chats, and everything else. I've made so many wonderful friends that I wait to hear from every day, and I worry about them when I don't hear from them. And a lot of them tell me not to worry. But in a world right now that we're in, it's hard not to worry about you guys because you have become so special to me. And let me just end it with this. 1408, I say, is definitely gonna be up there with one of my favorite Stephen King movies. Because I love movies where there's maybe a paw full of people, like I've said before, who have to try and make it through something. But then you have something like 1408 where really there's only about 3 people that you really meet and talk to. And that's Mike as the writer, and then Samuel L. Jackson as the manager, and then John Cusack's wife's character, who right now her name escapes me. But really, that's like 3 people, and it's hard for a movie to do something like that and keep your attention. But this movie really does do that. And like right now, it made me think a lot and made me babble for about, I don't know how long now. But it's definitely a movie worth seeing. Even if you don't like Stephen King. Even if you don't really like scary stories. It's a movie that makes you think. And it's a movie that does make you realize that there are bad memories that we can't escape from, no matter how hard we try. And we do get locked in our own rooms that are stuck in our head. And it might take us over a year to break out of it. But eventually, hopefully, we do. And if you ever need me, I'm pretty much always online. Hit me up on Discord. Hit me up in the chat and I'll figure out a way to send you a line somehow. So many of you people have become important to me, and I've become important to you. you guys love me for some weird reason, and I love you so much for it. My den will always be open to people who need someone to talk to, because you people have been there for me when I've needed someone to talk to. And if you can't find it online, call up your friend. If you haven't done it in a while, just go ahead and do it. Call up your mom, call up your dad if you can. If you can't do that, call up some of your old best friends that you haven't talked to in 5 years. There's always going to be someone out there who cares. With me up here in Alaska, that would fall under my friend Angel, that would fall under my leash holder Penny, and in a weird way it falls under my ex, who I'm still really good friends with. And my family in the village, they're kind of distant, but I love them and I know they love me. So, just reach out. This is a very big bump in the road that we've hit. And we're just getting to the point where maybe we can make it out. But we're not going to be able to make it alone. Just reach out and talk to someone. Talk to me. Talk to your friends you've made in your own little communities. I love all of you so much. And if you've made it this far, thank you for listening to me ramble about a movie that brought weird feelings out in me and made me decide to put this out there. Definitely watch 1408. See what kind of ideas are put into a short story and then put into an amazing movie. I love all of you guys so much. And remember, we do only have one planet, and we all have to share it. So be kind, and be civil. And if you can't do that, don't say anything at all. There's no reason to stir the pot. We have enough difficulties going on around us now. Let's just try and make it through this together as easily as possible. And with that, as I always say, goodbye, you awesome bipeds, quadrupeds, and even the occasional dinosaur. And before you leave, mask up. It could save a life of someone you love. It could save your life. And that's what I want. I want you guys to be around today, tomorrow, the next day, and for many moons to come. Good night. Goodbye. Good day. Good morning.